Gerald, thank you. Right now in the WRAL Live Center, North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis has a lot of questions for President Biden as that Chinese spy balloon set to be over North Carolina at some point tomorrow. The trajectory bringing it over Fort Bragg and Camp Lejeune. In blue here, President Biden's decision not to destroy it, even as it passed through sparsely populated areas, is puzzling, Tillis says, and we deserve answers. Let's take a closer look right now at where that balloon slowly is moving. This is the location it is right now over Missouri, and you talk about looking at like where we're looking and where it's going next. It will be right over North Carolina in some direction, north or south, but right over our state. According to Mike Mays and the weather folks with those weather patterns, it looks like it'll happen at some point tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Mark. And this is the balloon that we're talking about. This is when it was spotted over Montana. And the Pentagon is rejecting China's earlier claim that the balloon is a, quote, civilian airship. Now, joining us live to explain this is Bruce Jentleson. He's a Duke professor of public policy and political science. Professor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be with you.
So the president has been briefed. The Pentagon is monitoring and Canada is aware. Why is this balloon getting so much attention from international leaders?
No, I think it's more because of its symbolic significance and a bit of a political football than any real strategic threat. Our satellites overfly China all the time, and theirs overfly us, Russia the same way. And the capacity of this balloon to gather intelligence that the satellites can't, it's much less capable in that sense. But we all have sort of seen these in movies and spy novels. So, you know, it feels like it's something that really grabs the public's attention, but it's not that much. It's really not a threat, I don't think.
And Professor, I do want to bring up that clip that we saw Mark had in the Live Center there so that people at home can see this. But I was talking with our team of meteorologists, and they were saying that the way this is traveling, again, it's supposed to be over North Carolina about tomorrow-ish. So is this a discussion that should be had at the state level, if not already?
Well, I think it's very much of a foreign policy decision, and I think that Governor Cooper will probably follow the lead of the White House and the generals. The General Milley, the head of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, specifically said that shooting it down would be a mistake, that the debris could fall over a 20 by 20 mile area, and it also would escalate something that appears to be inadvertent, unintentional. And when you're dealing with a country that you already have problems with, you don't want to start going up that ladder of escalation unless you absolutely have to.
Of course, where there's already tensions between the countries. And as you already kind of touched on, you know, shooting it down, it could be, you know, debris might come down and obviously hurt people on the ground. And that's something I also want to dive into because the Defense Department is describing this as sizable. And I did see that sources were telling another news outlet that they believe that this balloon is the size of 3 buses. But when you look at an actual weather balloon, as China is calling this, I mean, it doesn't quite match up there. And so should we really trust what they're saying?
I don't think we have to trust it. We can diagnose it pretty well with our own capabilities. It's unmanned. Whatever intelligence it's gathering as it goes over these areas, is just not that significant. And the key thing here, when you have a situation like this, is to try to make sure that you take care of the American people and security, but you also don't necessarily start a back and forth where you really risk this becoming more than just an incident and escalating to a military conflict or other very dangerous scenarios.
Of course, because that could escalate things. And of course, we'll be following to see what exactly comes of this balloon that's floating over the United States. Professor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
We're getting